Let's bring him to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. You know him. You love him. He's been with us hanging out a long time. Big inspiration when we started the show. When we started the Convo Couch 5 years ago, we got to meet him. We actually decided to do the Convo Couch at one of his live shows in Flappers in Burbank. Welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, the dirtbag leftist of all dirtbag leftists.
Right-wing grifter.
Here. The grifter.
It's great to be with you. I just want to remind everybody it's okay to question the election's integrity again, because the Democrats are getting ready to lose. So it's okay to say that they stole it. Hillary Clinton already said it. She said they have the right wing. The GOP has a plan already to steal the election.
Yeah.
So are you? I mean, I'm not, honestly. I didn't think there was much more shit that they could do that could shock me, but this unbelievable, over the top fucking hypocrisy about denying elections and the integrity is just, they'll do it in the same sentence. They'll do, all these election deniers are planning to steal the next election. It's like, what in the fuck? And nice people that I have to eat dinner with are fucking taken in by this shit. It's, I swear to God, I feel like I just want to, I can't, it's, what do you say?
Well, it reminds me of that joke you do, like stuff like that, when you're getting the shot and they're like, well, what are you, an anti-vaxxer? And you're like, asshole, I'm here taking this shot. But I got to be honest with you, Jimmy, I am not surprised by the hypocrisy that democracy is on the ballot, that Hillary Clinton did that. I mean, there's never a price to pay for these people. They can say whatever the fudge they want and get away with it. This channel right here has been demonetized for 2 years now on YouTube for what? Elections. And mainly talking about what? The framework of elections, not even saying this or that, just pointing out the way the system works. You know, they've shut us down from the get-go, and DHS is what? If you're a election denier or a COVID denier, you're bad. You're now a domestic terrorism, and you're up to being censored and shut down.
Yeah, but you're allowed to question elections when Democrats lose.
Yeah.
That's funny. So you're going to be allowed to question this one. It's funny. They're already pre-questioning it. Like I said, they're already saying and I just can't get over this.
Well, you're allowed to question it. But Jimmy, you're allowed to question it only if you question the Republicans, though.
That's right.
You can't question the Democrats. And now the Russians are back, Jimmy. The Russians are back. Did you know that?
I thought there was a study that just came out and found a huge army online to fight Russians. Didn't that just come out? Am I wrong? Didn't somebody just release a study?
Maybe, but there was a New York Times article that just came out that said that the Russians are back and they have their troll farms. The article said they reactivated their troll farms now.
Oh,
and the New York Times put this out. Yeah. And
I saw Tom Hartman retweet that.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, Tom Hartman. They won't fucking stop with this shit. Oh my God, that's right. Tom Hartman, the New York Times front page. It's just like, and I'm supposed to be the clown. There is nothing I could do that could make me worse journalist than the front page of the New York Times on a daily basis. And that's why, of course, they demonetize people like you. They give us bogus, I was given a bogus community guidelines warning, not a strike. I was given to give you a warning, then a strike, and then you're done. And it was complete. It was about a transmission and contraction. And I was right, but they're never going to say I was right or they were wrong, and they're never going to reinstate me. So it's not about being right or wrong. It's about who you're allowed to criticize, and you're not allowed to criticize $100 billion a year company like Big Pharma because they spend a lot of cash. And like I try to tell people, you can't imagine the political power that $100 billion in 1 year gives you. The whole recording industry in the United States grosses $12.5 billion a year. The entire recording industry, not one company, but one pharmaceutical company made $100 billion. So that's the kind of power they have. They own the media. They certainly own the news. There's only 6 goddamn companies anyway, so it's not hard for them to get it. And then they get behemoths like Google or Alphabet to suppress people like me and you. And then they get people to go write articles in Newsweek and hit jobs and call us names. And then, unfortunately, they get they get lefties to repeat a lot of it. That's the fucking craziest thing, man.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, let me ask you a question over here, because I usually get accused of always agreeing with you for everything. I have a little bit of a disagreement with one of your tweets, or maybe I'm reading it wrong. But right outside over here in front of my studio, there's a pizzeria. And the dude, he talked the other day. He asked me if I knew Jimmy Dore. Dude's a big time conservative, right? Like, he's like, oh, dude, I love Jimmy Dore. I was just with somebody, another hardcore conservative. I love Jimmy Dore. Pizza Pete is my guy out over here. And he says, if Jimmy ever comes to town, please, he wants to buy his pizza. But I mean, this is something that's like, I love and I embrace too as well. When I hear, somebody, a MAGA guy just said Pasta was covering the Brazil election better than Steve Bannon. I agree of talking to people that think differently than us and having adults like conversations. This is a tweet you put over here the other day, and I'm curious about this, and just correct me if I'm wrong. This was the Jimmy Dore laugh. And it says Representative Matt Gaetz will join Cenk Jr., Anna Kasparian, and Nina Turner during our midterm election live coverage. Tune in starting at 8 p.m. On Eastern, yada, yada. What questions do you have from him? Color me crazy, but I think this is one of the best things that the Young Turks have done. Like, finally, like they are having somebody come on who's more anti-war than them talk on their show, and I hope he really puts that in Cenk's face. Oh yeah, him just like Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying we need to defund the Ukrainian war. We shouldn't be doing this. In fact, Gaetz did it several times, and I don't have a Matt Gaetz T-shirt, and I'm not rooting for Matt Gaetz. But what are your thoughts about this? Because and call me crazy. I know Fee's going to probably tell me I'm crazy. But I think this is one of the best things that the Young Turks have done. And I'm just so curious to see how it plays out this tomorrow.
Well, what the ha was about was how they disingenuously piled on me for platforming and going on Tucker Carlson. And here they are bringing on this guy who they've said is a pedophile. They've said on their show is done all these horrible things, and they're bringing him on to talk to him. I brought on a Boogaloo Boy, which they conflated with a Proud Boy, which people all again don't know that. And the irony, and if you look at my timeline on Twitter, I did another tweet subsequent to that the irony is that Cenk Uygur is to the right of Matt Gaetz on important issues, like, for instance, Julian Assange. And then I tweeted out that video with that tweet where Cenk says that Julian Assange can't be trusted and he's a Trumper. So, no, I wasn't. Of course, I agree. I think that more conversation is always better, and sharing ideas is always good. And it's not about the person. It's about the people. Like, again, it's not about Tucker Carlson. It's about he is the biggest news audience in the country. I'd like to get my message out to them. At the time when I started going on Tucker, I knew he had the air of the president. And he was credited with avoiding a war with Iran. Remember, people did that. So that's what that's about. Gotcha. So when I did that it was about them always saying you can't do this, and now here they are doing the exact thing that they've tried to shame other people for doing. So no, I agree with you that this is a good idea. I think it's ironic that they're bringing someone on who they consider an extreme right-winger, who's to the left of Cenk on very important issues like war and Julian Assange, which is freedom of the press.
Gotcha.
And not only that,
understood that. My bad.
Cenk is voting for Caruso, who's like this neoliberal, and he's like, not that the other candidate is much better, but for mayor, And, the TYT started talking about crime and how it's really bad. Well, duh, in LA, it's absolutely horrible. And their audience, the audience that has been defending them and calling Jimmy like a right-wing grifter and saying that Jimmy's a right-winger is like, doesn't know what to do, because now the people that have accused everybody of being a right-winger are literally voting for Republicans. Like, they're voting for a Republican.
I know.
So,
well, the Democratic Party is a as AOC said, they're a center right party at best. They're to the right to the Republicans on a lot of things. One of them is the funding of the Ukraine war. Now, whether the Republicans will actually stop funding the Ukraine war, I doubt it. But at least there's people inside that party willing to speak up against it. There isn't anybody in the Democratic Party willing to do that. Not even a progressive, not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is now a water boy for the killing war machine of empire. That's the best progressive we have in the Senate, is now a water carrier for empire and murderous imperialism and the war machine. That's what Bernie Sanders is. Boy, talk about a disappointment. And of course, he never says anything about Julian Assange. Does he? Does Bernie ever say anything about Julian Assange? Or is he worse than the worst on this?
He's pretty
no,
bad.
he's not. Yeah, he's not said a word.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
He's not said a word.
Fantastic. Well, I guess we never have it. That reminds you why you shouldn't have heroes, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know, Jimmy, I don't know. Your alter ego retweeted a tweet of mine.
Oh, Nina Turner?
No, your alter ego. You know how they discovered that you had this a
burner account?
A burner account, and they went off.
I was so glad they didn't find my embarrassing ones. I don't have just one burner account. I have several. Don't you?
Who doesn't have a burner account?
I have many. So
who doesn't?
I don't like to use my real account to interact with people who I know are bad faith act. So like what a trick is that they'll tell a lie about you that you know is a lie. And so then you'll want to come on their show to correct them, but they get the advantage of this fake thing they've just created. And sometimes people give into it, right? Like Brianna Joy Gray went on Young Turks with Cenk Uygur, and Cenk Uygur smeared her. She knew there was no merit to it. So Cenk Uygur said that she was a right winger. So then she then rewarded that by going on his show. Now I think she did that because she thinks he has a big enough platform that it demands a response. And it turned out good for her to go on. Right. And then Aaron Matei, same thing. He went on with the Vanguard after they lied about him and smeared him. Or said bullshit about him anyway. And I was just like, you shouldn't respond to that, even though it turned out good. I think it turned out good for Aaron to go on there, and it helped reveal a lot of things, clear up a lot of things. But that's not how it's supposed to go. So, yeah, I mean, I think responding to people who bad faith attack you so that you'll want to respond to them so that they can use your response, or B, you'll want to come on their show. And so the best thing I can do is I don't use my official platform or my official account to respond to them.
Yeah, I think I got to learn from Jimmy.
I don't have any embarrassment. They didn't even catch the embarrassing burner account. I have more than one burner account. That's but that is one of my oldest.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get that blue check verified unless you spend another $8 and let you know it's a parody account. Just so you know, what are your thoughts of Musk taking over, Jimmy? Do you see any light down the tunnel over there? Because there's a lot of people who look at Elon Musk's history and understand that he was mainly a defense contractor, that most of his money came from subsidies from the governments. And he said stuff like, we'll coup who we want to coup. A lot of people believe SpaceX and Starlink, which was used for the Ukrainian Nazis in the beginning of the war, is very problematic. Do you see any change when it comes to Elon coming in there? Is there hope for that? Or do you think it's more of like a psyops, red herring distraction?
You don't think a billionaire is going to challenge the establishment? You don't think the richest guy in the world wants to upset the apple cart? No, it might get better around the edges, but it's not the important things will remain censored.
You think? All right, okay.
Julian, he hasn't mentioned Julian Assange. And once you notice that, it's not, you can't. I couldn't. As soon as someone pointed that out to me, like I was really in, like I'm like, well, it's we have a chance. Let's see. It's like when the Squad got elected the first time. It's like, well, let's see what Elon does. But then as soon as someone pointed out to me that he's never mentioned, I think it was Misty Putin,
Yeah, probably.
Probably Misty.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then I started to look into it. I read a couple articles about how he is reliant on the military industrial complex and the government and all that stuff. And, I think he's a brilliant guy in a lot of ways. And I hope he can't get worse. I don't think it could get worse.
Yeah.
So, but I think it will maybe get better around the edges and you'll be able to talk about certain cultural things without being canceled. But I don't think I don't think he would have been any different about, say, COVID policy. Do you think he would have? I think he would have bent the knee to, and just like I don't think he would have been. Do you think he would have been? No, I don't know.
I don't. My feeling is that the check mark thing. First of all, the blue verification thing, I do like in some ways. I understand the concerns with people giving up more of their identification to the system. Because he does want to build one app, like a We app, to control everything, where you do all your spending, you buy everything. And that is some serious consolidation of data for the wrong people.
However, power.
Yeah, and power. And here's the thing. The blue check mark thing, though, I'm sick and tired of who gets the right to say who's verified and not. Big tech, whatnot. So I do like that idea of $8 in verification.
And it's pissing the right people off. It's pissing up all these people that feel entitled. I like that. I like that it's pissing these people off.
If you want to be verified, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about it, but I don't really give a shit. Hey, why do I mean, if your blue check means that much to you, then pay the $8. And if it means that much to you, if you're that important of a person that someone impersonating you could hurt your public reputation, then spend the $8, I guess. That's what I would say. Other than that, why the fuck would you? So I think to me it's better than letting some nameless, faceless tech bureaucrat decide. I don't know who decided to give me a blue check. They just gave me one.
Yeah, I don't
know.
That's the thing. Fam, do you got anything else for Jimmy before he gets on out of here? Because I just want to ask him about Kanye, and that's it. So
that's what I was gonna kind of talk about. I'm getting called an anti-Semite because I think this whole situation is being manipulated. And you saw Max's tweet, right? Max Blumenthal's tweet.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was a great tweet, and I said that pretty much Kanye is. Pretty much, they're mad at him for exposing this stuff. They're not mad at him because he's being anti-Semitic. And I don't agree with all the things Kanye has said. But
I'm not, honest to God, I'm not following Kanye West. I swear to God, that sounds funny. I don't know what he has exposed or what he's even said. I don't even know.
He talked about the exploitation of Black people and rappers and that by an elite group in Hollywood. And he mentioned how we can't criticize Zionists. He didn't say the word Zionist. That was the problem. He didn't use the word Zionist. He said the word Jews, but that's what he meant. And he was like, there's this group in Hollywood, but it's not like anybody's saying. Well, I mean, it's not like I'm saying, because some people are saying that what Jews run the world. That's not what people are saying.
Why didn't he correct himself immediately then and say, I didn't mean Jews, I meant Zionists, and I'm criticizing Zionism. And
I don't even think the guy knows the difference.
Well, I think the same people that are mad at him now would have still been mad at him after anyways. They would have said he's using Zionists as code for Jews. But you're right, Jimmy. I feel the same way. I thought he should have used the term globalist instead of Zionist because,
they still say that's a right-wing word, though. Globalist is a right. Everything is a right-wing word.
They say inflation is a right-wing word now.
Yeah.
Well, who did you teach about inflation, Jimmy? Are you teaching your Republican friend that shit? Because we're going to 86 you. You don't teach Republicans about basic math.
I've been passing out inflation DVDs at Trump rallies, and so they're informed on inflation. It's mostly just videos of Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter talking about it. But other than that, anyway.
Jimmy, let everybody know what shows you got coming up, where they can see you, and what you're going to be doing in the near future.
I might be. We're doing shows in Austin coming up on November 19th, I think. And so we got 2 shows. I think they just sold out. So we're going to add a 3rd one, and we might film it, because I filmed in July of this year, and that special was 1 hour and 14 minutes long, which is like 14 minutes longer than I like. And we just finished color correcting it and sounding it and with all that stuff, and I don't like it.
I heard you talking about, you were thinking about on the borderline of scrapping it, maybe doing another one.
Because the jokes are much different now. Like they've evolved. So it's just not, it's like,
Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I was trying to understand it, because I thought, when you said the jokes.
I'll give you, like, they just kind of find a better order, and they find a way to, so like the point I'm making then becomes clearer and easier, and better comedically. Like, okay, so I'm talking about vaccine. So I talk about, when I went down to get they said, they go, hey, I go, I didn't even know they put it in, because I didn't feel it. And they go, yeah, you're done. And I go, I don't even know what I was worried about. I'm going to go home. And they go, you can't go home. And I was like, what do you mean? They go, you got to stay here for 15 minutes in case you die. And I was like, you sons of bitches, you told me it was safe, right? So that's that joke. And then I talk about mandates. And people say, well, Jimmy, vaccine mandates are just like traffic lights. And what I say now is no. Well, what I said then was no, they're not like traffic lights. They'd be like a traffic light if you took a traffic light, ripped it out of the ground, and stuck it in my vein. Then it would be like a. But what I say now is totally different. Now I say, no, they're nothing like traffic lights. You know why I know that? Because when I go through a traffic light, I don't have to pull over, wait 15 minutes to see if I fucking die.
Yeah.
So that's a much better. It's better.
Yeah. I hear it's more evolved now that everybody understands what's going on out there.
Yes. So now, and people are starting. Now we know that they didn't even test it for stopping transmission, which is why. So I knew early on when I had Dr. Robert Malone on my show, the guy who invented the mRNA vaccine technology, no matter what they write in a smear piece in the Atlantic about him. And he came on my show. And he told me that we're never going to be able to vaccinate our way out of this because it's what they call a leaky vaccine.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? That means that it doesn't stop the transmission, nor does it stop the contraction. Now, YouTube makes you say that it does slow the transmission and contraction. So there, we gave context. So I knew then that if you got infected with the virus, you could still infect other people, and you could still become infected even after you had the.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew that mandates didn't make any sense. And then I also knew that we were all going to eventually get COVID. Why? Where did I get that from? Some crazy right-wing doctor? No, Joe Biden, czar for director of COVID response, Andy Slavitt, said so. This was during Delta. And so I knew then, this was before Omicron, which is way more contagious than Delta. I knew then that you could never vaccinate your way out of this, that even if you were vaccinated, you could still transmit it. I also knew that the vaccine didn't stop you from, and we're all going to get it. So if we were all going to get it, why do you care if you get it from a vaccinated person or an unvaccinated person? If you want to protect yourself, you get the vaccine. It'll protect you from serious illness and hospitalization. You don't need anybody else to do anything, and anybody else doing anything doesn't have a bit of fucking effect on you anyway. It's a lie that we can vaccinate our way out of this pandemic. And so I knew that a fucking year and a half ago, and people still don't know that.
Yeah.
And that's why I had people come on. My good friend Graham Elwood came on my show to debate me about that. And he said, I think if we could have got to 90% vaccination, we could have got rid of this pandemic. And Graham, that was never the case. So that's why I'm not angry at people like Graham or think he's evil. It's just that they were operating under propaganda and misinformation. And it's unfortunate that people dropped their skepticism when it came to COVID, when it came to big pharma, the biggest liars in the world, and the government, and their corporate captured agencies. So I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but
it's okay. Because that's the question. It should, those people that you're talking about, Jimmy, with this article that you mentioned to me, and I read it right after I was on your show, should amnesty be given? And who should amnesty be given to? You know what I'm saying? That is the question.
No. What we need to do is have the people who were the biggest spreaders of misinformation, which was Fauci was one of them, and then everybody else, in social media and late night talk show hosts who said we shouldn't give medical care to the unvaccinated. It was Chomsky. Well, Chomsky said that we should isolate them, and then if they can't get food, that's their problem. And so, these are monstrous things to say. And so it would go a long way if people like that came out and said, we were lied to and I should have known better. It's okay if I buy the propaganda, but it's really bad if I shame someone else for being skeptical of the biggest criminals in the world, which is big pharma and those captured agencies. The number one and number two people who are in charge of vaccines at the FDA resigned over the vaccine boosters, and they never tell you that. That never gets a headline in a news article, but I'll talk about it on my show, but nobody else will ever talk about it. Nobody ever will stick their chin out. And so this idea that we have to have, now all of a sudden we have amnesty for the people who got it wrong. By the way, they're still getting it wrong, which is what I had to point out. And you have to first admit you were wrong, then you make a sincere act of contrition. And that's how we make sure, not because I need it for my ego, but so that's how we can make sure it doesn't happen again. And so if something like when Big Pharma and captures the government and the media again, which is what they did, and they do another bullshit thing like this where they're smearing the critics of their plan, which is what they did, the Barrington Declaration, that this won't happen again. We can point to this and we can point to we were right. And here you are admitting we were right and saying you were sorry for shaming skeptics of Big Pharma's narrative and the government's narrative. How dare you shame skeptics of the biggest criminals in the world, but they're still doing it.
Yeah. And they're not going to stop. Joe Biden's telling people, prepare for your hurricane, get a vaccination, all that crazy shit. Jimmy, thank you so much for going here. Listen, I want to say this much too, because, obviously this network over here, and the people we hang with, we were out of the gate. We were really on top of COVID. We did our ivermectin video 2 months before the Dark Horse and Pierre Corey. And I was glad that Pierre Corey did that, because once Pierre Corey said that, it really shot into the stratosphere, and that was really important. But the thing that I really give you credit for, that you said, that you made a point of saying that a lot of people they might have said it, but they didn't say it in a direct way, is you kept on saying, we're all going to get it. We're all going to get it. We're all going to get it. And by saying that, it really made people think a little bit like, holy shit, yeah, we are all going to get this thing here. There's nowhere we can run and hide. And I give you credit for definitely kind of emphasizing that, Mr. Jimmy Dore.
And that was, again, and nobody ever brought me on their show to challenge me on any of these points. Nobody ever brought me on their show to go, Jimmy, why do you keep saying everybody's going to get it? And I would point to Joe Biden's head of COVID response, Andy Slavitt, and I would say he said it in June of fucking 2020. I'm pretty sure, or 2021. He said it in June of 2021. And that's Biden's. So here we are in October of 2022, and now everybody has it. And I don't want to say that the vaccine doesn't work, but everybody got COVID. And could you imagine if we all got the polio vaccine, then we all got polio?
Less hospital beds, Jimmy. Less hospital beds filled up. That's the important thing. When are you coming to Vegas? Nothing booked?
It turns out I can sell about 300 or 400 tickets once a year in Vegas. So I'm coming back. No, I like to go to Vegas to see shows and have dinner. Yeah. And so I'll let you know the next time I come. Next time there's a good show I want to go see.
Dude, Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, our good friend Brett Ernst does his residency. You got to see his comedy now, Jimmy. I know you'll love it. Oh, my God. Like him and Kurt. like I've noticed that, and I'm not a big comedian guy like Steve is, the morning show partner and stuff.
Yeah.
But I realized that Kurt and like Brett, like they're the comedians. Like they get so many props from other comedians going, this guy right over here.
You know what?
And
I'll go check. I'll look. I know him. I know him for a long time. I remember he used to do a bit about roller skating or something. It was really
Tony. He does. He won't do that. He did it the other night at the 30, the Dirty at 30 at 12:30 at the South Point. But he's just got all new material. And
does he live in Vegas?
What's that?
Does he live in Vegas?
Yeah, he lives out here and stuff. He's in Jersey right now, in New York, shooting a special himself.
Okay.
But
where's his residency?
At the LA Comedy Club.
I love those guys. Those guys who run that. Those guys are fun guys. I like that. I used to work for those guys all the time at the all around. They've had clubs in every hotel, it seems like.
Yeah. It's interesting the connections we have. I know him from, when we were younger, hanging out in Florida, and then he was close to Sam. He was on the road with Sam, and the whole kind of comedian thing. It's been pretty amazing to get plugged in with you guys. I really do think that your work, all the comedians that are doing this work, it's so important getting in here and kind of speaking the truth, because it's just coming from your guys' mouths. I think a lot more people are understanding and receptive to it, and you can open up to other audiences, just like this Pizza Pete guy right over here. He's like, I love Jimmy Dore. And I'm like, you love Jimmy Dore? But, I don't know. You're a right winger now, Jimmy. They love you over there.
Well, I'm glad. They want you to blame half the country for the economic pain caused by the oligarchy doing a controlled demolition of our economy. And I'm not going to blame my neighbor because they wouldn't take a vaccine that didn't work the way they said it did in the first place. Yeah. So I'm going to blame the motherfuckers who transferred $5 trillion upward during that time, which was every Democrat. And I think I don't know. All I know is that every Democrat voted for the CARES Act, which was the largest upward transfer of wealth in the history of human kind. So that's what they use. It's the shock doctrine. We knew it was coming as it was happening. The only person if you can point to another show besides mine that was calling that out, and that's not to pat myself on the back, it was a lonely feeling. I wish somebody else would. They were all yelling, no, Bernie Sanders says, and Rokfin and AOC says they have to vote for this because it's got unemployment in it. But at least AOC had the candor to say that that was crumbs.
Yeah.
And so when Rokfin came on my show and I confronted him over it, he said, no, we had to vote for it, Jimmy, because the people were hurting. They needed their unemployment. So that's why you voted for crumbs, which is what AOC. But again, that would only have an impact if someone else took that video clip of me confronting Ro and then played it on their show or confronted Ro also. They'll never do that. It's all over. The YouTube left is back before Bernie ran in 2016. If you look at Kyle Kalinske and Rachel, what's her name? On the breaking point, they've gone so far backwards. The David Sirotas, they're just blue.
Crystal ball,
they just tie themselves in pretzel knots trying to justify supporting this two-party duopoly instead of making a real fucking break and getting a voting bloc that votes third party no matter what it is. So we can have a little bit of influence on what happens in this country, because voting Democrat gives you fucking zero influence if you're a lefty. Yeah. And just like, and they all pretend that Lawrence O'Donnell didn't say what he said in 2009, was when he said you have to stop voting for Democrats in order for anything that you want to get done. And they know this, but they're gutless fucking asswipes. And that's why they won't stand and up against their own Democratic Party, just like the fucking squad won't stand up against the Democratic Party, which is why they support the squad still. Guys like Kyle Kalinske and Cenk and Ryan Grimm make excuses for them instead of holding their feet to the fire. And that's why there's no left in this country, because they've been co-opted by pieces of shit like that who pretend that they're actually on the side of the left or somehow progressive, but they want you to be afraid of guys like fucking Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore and Russell Brand. And so that's where we are. There is no left. Those people are further, because you know why? Because Bernie Sanders, I'll never forget, I saw when Bernie Sanders was doing his New York rally and every fucking asswipe in the world was pretending that it was real. And they were tweeting out stuff like, I'm so proud to be part of a movement. I'm like, you're not part of a fucking movement. As soon as Bernie gets screwed over again, he's going to throw his weight and his movement behind the fucking war machine and Wall Street. And that's exactly what he did. And where's his fucking movement now? It is nowhere. And where are those people who tweeted that shit? Where are those people who tweeted out, I'm proud to be part of a movement? Where's your fucking critique of Bernie Sanders and the Democratic Party now? Or are you hiding behind the skirt of fucking Trump fear once again, you cowards?
Yep, they are.
You fucking get me going, you cocksuckers.
Yeah, I agree. And they're doing the same thing. Fiorella was just talking about the people we know are still back into the Bernie movement. Let's go. Let's go.
There is no Bernie movement. Yeah. Bernie did a live stream the other day. It was from Michigan. Him and Barack Obama. They couldn't get 1,000 people on a fucking live stream.
I know, right? We got more people than Bernie and Barack do on this live stream. They're
blaming Russia and misinformation for it's unfucking believable.
Well, Jimmy, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm glad you're thinking about third parties. We'll get you back on here with Dave Smith and talk Libertarian Party all day, baby.
And you're welcome to Russia anytime.
I am going to straight that guy out.
Yeah,
we love you.
Like to run with Dave Smith. I wonder maybe we should run together, but I don't think he would have me because I'm for Medicare for all.
No. You just have to come up with a different type of libertarian Medicare for all plan. That's it. I mean, our Medicare for all, Jimmy, we talked about this too. And I'm still, what are we going to do? We can't hand over our health care to these fucking people anymore. Look what they just did to us. We have to have a whole new plan. Dr. Ryan Cole talked about it in the show. We have a sick care system. We got to blow up the whole system and change the whole fucking thing. So,
yeah, all I know is that private health insurance is fucking unbelievable. It'll bankrupt you if you get sick. So
I know.
It's only good if you don't get really sick. But if you get really sick or sick in a unique way, it'll bankrupt you. Hey, I just saw a thing on Twitter. How many times I just saw today they charged somebody $12 for one halls that they package individually. They charge them $12 for it. This is America. This is capitalism.
Yeah.
And so you can't. Anyway, I got to go out.
Don't do your show, Jimmy. We love you. We'll keep you.
We love you, Jimmy. Thank you.
That is stuff for us.
Okay, right back at you. Love you guys. Bye, you Russian.
Oh shit! I cut him off as he was calling us a Russian. Sorry, Jimmy, but
you hung up on Jimmy Dore calling me a bot. Yeah, well, I am a Russian bot now. I mean, come on. I was gonna give him a plane ticket to the Kremlin.